Good afternoon. We have a special guest with us, Mr. Rajesh Ramloll. Mr. Ramloll is the chairman of the Financial Services Commission, Mauritius FSC, one of the key regulators in Mauritius. He also heads the IFA Mauritius branch as a president of the IFA Mauritius, and is also one of the top law officers, the government of Mauritius. Thank you so much, Mr. Ramloll, for speaking to us. BEPS has been a hot topic throughout this last 12 months, and this Congress continued to discuss BEPS. First of all, as a lawyer and as a person who's been watching the policy development closely, what's your take on how BEPS is going to affect different countries?
Well, thank you very much, Ameya. Thank you for giving me this opportunity this afternoon here to express myself on these hot topics which have been discussed during this conference. Now, BEPS was one of the issues discussed this afternoon and also yesterday afternoon. The base erosion and profit shifting initiative of the OECD is one of the most important ones last few years, which was launched last year in February with the action plan points released in July later last year. Now, I would say that BEPS is going to actually change the way the world looks at international taxation. Now, the issues that are raised in BEPS are things that we have been taking for granted for years, but now with the BEPS project, a number of reflexes we had are now being put into question. For example, harmful tax practice, treaty abuse, which we all knew what they were, but now we have to revisit a number of concepts. And you will recall that in 1998, the OECD had released its harmful tax practice report, and now the BEPS report picks up from where the OECD had left those issues, and now it is looking as if this is now something which is going to be dealt with at the level of the EU countries, OECD members, as well as non-OECD members, because they're going to be country-by-country reports on the BEPS issues, or BEPS behavior as it is called. So yes, Mauritius is going to be one of those countries affected by or concerned by the BEPS project. Right. No doubt.
Right. Mr. Ramloll, how is Mauritius involved in BEPS project? Because it's not part of OECD or G20, but how is it exactly Mauritius going to sort of participate in the outcome of BEPS project?
Well, the Mauritius is an international financial center which has always been very proactive in staying on top of things when it comes to best practices and good tax governance. Of course, we are not an OECD country, but there are host of different measures which Mauritius takes. Whilst not being an OECD country, it has participated in the level playing field action in early 2000 to come up with the tax information exchange agreement. Mauritius sits on the OECD peer review process, and we have been at the forefront of not only developing the TIEA, but also looking at how countries are assessed by the peer review, because we are ourselves a peer. So that on issues of tax exchange information, we are up to scratch. Now, not being an OECD country doesn't mean that we're not concerned by this. I mean, for all these two actually equally concerned countries, I mean, there must be a level playing field, OECD or non-OECD. I mean, it is a flat world. So I think that on that score, Mauritius has been, as a financial center, a responsible player, but also be part into active processes of the OECD as a non-OECD member, as I've told you there. And I think it is important for financial centers to take the responsibilities there, because internationally there can only be one standard for everyone.
Right. Let me touch upon the two specific aspects, and this is where India is also keenly interested, and these are two questions around Mauritius. The first point is the India-Mauritius Treaty. A lot has been talked about. BEPS is also around the corner, this whole movement. What is it that you have seen in last few months happening around India-Mauritius treaty?
Well, I can tell you on that score, the Mauritian Prime Minister visited India and was invited at the swearing-in ceremony of the PM, the Prime Minister Modi here. The issue is now being dealt with at the level of the Prime Minister's PMO cell to PMO cell.
Okay.
Things are happening at that level. So, I mean, this is the highest level.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the second point, and this is more on the framework, and you being part of FSC. FSC last year introduced certain provisions relating to the greater substance requirement for the companies,
yes,
holding companies that are incorporated.
Yes.
And if I am not wrong, the implementation deadline for these new substance regulations is approaching soon.
Sure.
What has been the reaction from the investor community on this, and how do you see the implementation of this new rules being made?
Well, I mean, the broader picture of this is we have to have more substance in a jurisdiction. And this is something we have been very closely looking at. And this is why the FSC came up with those substance requirement rules, which have been released 18 months ago. This has been explained to the players back home. And I must say, they are now, cooperative in trying to implement those, because they understand the importance of this substance requirement. I mean, you've been at the conference, and the Mauritius substance requirements has been one of the topics actually discussed live before this audience of 1,500 people. So it is to show to you the role of Mauritius in terms of being a responsible international financial center, and the role of the FSC in trying to put in place those substance requirements there. I think this also, mirrors our seriousness of purpose in terms of implementing the BEPS requirements, because one of the points of the BEPS is actually real substance in terms of actual business. And I think letterbox companies and the rest, going to be something of history. Is going to be past.
Right.
You see.
Right. My last part of this question is around the location of Mauritius being strategically located near the African continent. Extractive business or extraction industry is something, therefore, is in a way relevant, and Mauritius can play a key role in this in the future. We heard that even at the international level, there is an effort being made to identify tax issues relevant to this extractive industry. If you could briefly share your perspective on how extractive industry taxation could shape in future.
Well, I think Africa is a continent that now realizes its full potential. Africa has gone through difficult times, and now is the time of self-realization, and this is what is happening. Now, a number of African countries are making efforts to be up to scratch when it comes to business models, tax treaties, and underscoring this is the fact that the extractive industry in Africa has remained untapped for many, many years. And many countries on the eastern coast of Africa, southern coast of Africa, are now coming up with actual exploitation of oil and gas. Now, it is interesting to see that the UN has started work on extractive industry taxation. Now, as you know, the move now is to shift from residence-based taxation to source-based taxation, and extractive industries can not be, a better example to show the importance of source-based taxation there. So I think we have to revisit the way we model our tax treaties, so that where the profit is generated by exploitation of extractive industries, this is where it has to be taxed. And I think that is very important from a developing country perspective.
Right. Thank you so much, Mr. Ramloll. Thank you for talking to us.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.